Hey guys, I just wanted to do a short video because I've been interested in this subject for the longest time. I'm really interested in time slips. Even when I was a child, I was interested in this time slip stuff. And the thing is, right, I was quite fascinated about Bold Street in Liverpool, which I've known about for a little while. And I actually think I might have mentioned it in one of my videos before now about how there was a retired police officer in the 90s. My hair is mad because of this weather. It's so hot here. Which is, I'm not moaning about it, please. I'm not. I live in the UK. I am not moaning. I love the weather, but it does play havoc with my hair, the humidity. But anyway, so yeah, this retired police officer in the 90s and his wife, they were shopping in Liverpool in Bold Street, and they decided to split up. He decided to go and get a book from Dillons, as it was known. I remember Dillons. I'm old enough to remember Dillons. And she went off somewhere else. Anyway, as he went towards Dillons, it suddenly changed the shop, and it was handbags and 1950s clothes. And the women outside were dressed in the 1950s stuff, you know, like the long coats and all that, and smartly dressed. And he was like, what's going on here? Anyway, and then he walked inside the shop, and it was all back to normal. It was all books and stuff. But the experience, he said to his wife, did she notice anything strange, you know, on her journey, you know, to where she was going? And there was nothing, she didn't have anything to say. So being a retired police officer, he obviously decided to do a bit of research. And apparently none of this had happened before the 1900s. And that was when they changed the train station, I think. And I'm wondering whether it was then, you know, the new train station disturbed something like a porthole or, you know, maybe a ley line or something like that. Interesting, though. But then there's other couple of stories that have really interested me about there. The one about the shoplifter. Apparently in the 90s again, it seems to happen a lot in the 90s. This lad had shoplifted something and the police were on his tail. And it was near, I think it was Hanover Street. Do you know what? I need to go to Liverpool and have a look round anyway. It's on my list. I've never been, you know. Anyway, so this young lad, the police were, you know, in hot pursuit after him stealing something. And as he was running, suddenly everything changed. And it was like the 1920s, you know, the 1920s cars, you know, with those cars with that, like, horn. But it was like, you know, when the first cars come, they weren't really that much faster than horse and carts, were they? You know, it was sort of like that, you know, with a sort of steering wheel, not the horn, the steering wheel sort of, you know, you can sort of really see it. And, you know, I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but I'm not explaining it very well. Anyway, and he tried to use his mobile phone, because obviously the police officers had disappeared. He's like, what the hell's going on? And he's looking at all these men, you know, flat, you know, handicap caps and all that. And then, so he tries to use his phone and his phone doesn't work. So he thinks, wow. So he keeps sort of walking and really confused. And then he gets to a shop at the end of the road, and suddenly everything starts, the phone works, and he looks back in the distance, and he can see them all dressed like still right at the back of where he's just come from. They were still dressed the same. But unfortunately for him, the police officers, I don't know, they must have transcended the timeline, because they kind of arrested him. But when he was in the police station and he was sort of given an account of what had gone on, because obviously it wasn't the normal thing, the police officer said that everything that he had said, you know, corresponded with what that street was like in the 1920s. Interesting, huh? And then the other one that I really like is the one about the girl. There was a young girl, and her sister had just had a baby. I'm not sure the exact date of this. And she decided to go and buy some presents for her sister's little baby. So she started to go down to Broad Street again, it's same street. And she went to the shop. It was Mothercare. So she goes into Mothercare, and, you know, she picks up a few items for a newborn. Goes to the till, and the lady says, no, we don't take cards. You know, like, you know, what we use all the time now, you know, with the card, tapping the card. I mean, she didn't have any cash on her. So anyway, so she went back home. She told her mum, and her mum said, well, Mother Care's been gone for, since the 90s. And anyway, so the next day, her mother, she said, no, Mum, I swear, I went in there and they wouldn't take my card and I didn't have any cash on me. Look, I'll show you. So they went back, and her mum said there was a bank there. And when they got there, there was a bank, just as her mother had said. So yeah, so bizarre. But anyway, I've been racking my brains about it. And then I heard something today that sort of got my mind going again about this, because I heard that it could be something to do with our DNA. Our DNA, like our ancestors' DNA. So say, for instance, like my grandma, what was going on in my grandma's time is stored in my DNA. And my mother, my mother's still on this earth, thank God. But, what's in her DNA is in me. And is that what we're seeing? Or is it because, where Broad Street is, it's on a portal? I don't really know, but it's quite interesting that about the DNA thing, that somehow these experiences get stored in our DNA, and that's why these things sometimes happen. But yeah, the last thing that happened to me was a couple of nights ago. Actually, I had a terrible headache. I hadn't been feeling well, and those horrible days where it feels like the ceiling's coming in on you. It's laying in bed with the terrible headache. So I decided to go for a walk. Anyway, so I walked up to my local shop, and got a few provisions, what have you. And as I was walking back, I got to where the police station is, where I live. And there was a car parked there. And in the car, I could see this man smiling at me. He was quite a big guy. He was quite black, and he had like a little beard, and he was a big sort of smiley, lovely face, guy. And I could have sworn I knew him. I'm like, I know that guy. But I couldn't put my finger on it. And I thought, as I get up to the car, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, hi, how are you? And see, I was thinking, is it someone I've worked with? You know how your mind goes. As I got closer up to the car, and I got right close, I mean really close, he just disappeared. How bizarre is that? And then I thought, it might be another ancestor, in my family, because, we've got a lot of mixes in my family, and my son as well, so my son's mixed race. So it could be, it was just like, is this like, an ancestor coming to say hello, or something like that, and I kind of recognize them? Or is it someone from my past life? Bizarre. But yeah, I was, I really felt like I knew this guy, and yeah, I couldn't remember his name. But that's not that unusual for me, because I'm one of those people that always remembers a face and not always the name. So anyway, interesting conversation, I think. Interesting conversation. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. All right. Anyway, I hope everyone's enjoying the sun. I am. And we're having a wonderful summer. And I'm loving every minute of it. Yep. So, yeah, everyone enjoy the summer. It's lovely. Bye.